I can talk about soundtrack. The other is, it's called the Upper Room Bistro. And it's about a 55-plus community of love children that are possible. The site location is world famous Bob's Dabba Jive. The juke joint for Robert Johnson is Ray Gibson's Caballeros Club. Summer camp written for the Gen Z. It is faith-based because kids aren't going to church. And it's got a theme, Native American theme, okay? And it's at the Yakima Reservation. So, funding-wise, FilmWorks Commission, okay? You can go up to $1 million. All right, now if you're going to shoot in another state, Montana, Oregon, Washington State, they've got film commissions too. So, take that to grants, all right? If you have a 501c3, you can go to the tribe, and they do it every quarter, all right, and apply there. I am an acting teacher, MFA. I teach at DigiPenn Institute of Technology, okay, I did the whole curriculum and everything. But an adjunct professor, 5 master's thesis films, UCLA, 3 at UC AFI, right? When I graduated from Stella Harmon, I graduated in LA with an MFA. I am getting ready to open up my actors workshop, actors and filmmakers workshop, because I've got to train up the next generation. So just Google Anthony Ginn, kind of self-promoting, but you'll see my whole profile. Anthony Ginn, G-I-N-E. And then connect with me, all right? LinkedIn especially, I got 29,000 followers, 800 something, next time global.
Thank you so much for that. I do have to wrap up. I apologize because we are 20 minutes behind.
Okay, so quick. That's my son, and he wants to be a writer. If you could talk to your 14-year-old self, what would you say?
I would say write absolutely as much as you can. Write whatever you want to write. Don't let the voice in your head that tells you not to or to stop or that this isn't any good stop you. Just write and follow whatever you want to do, truly. It's a wonderful process to develop your soul through writing, through self-expression, and even if nothing comes of it, you become a much better person throughout the end. So don't focus on the goal, focus on the work, and just continue.
Exactly that. If I knew at 14 that I could write books, I would have been writing books much sooner. Don't let anything stop you. Just write. If you've got stories, just tell them. It doesn't matter if they're short stories or novel length or screenplays or plays or whatever. Just write it in any form that it feels natural. You never know. Maybe you're gonna dig it out later and expand on it, but just write. We always need writers. We need stories. Your stories are so, they're your stories. Nobody else is going to have your story, so it's so important. So just write your stories.
Thank you so much for that. I'm sorry we do have to wrap up, but thank you for that conversation. I think everyone enjoyed. In fact, when you guys were talking about the writer's block, I was thinking about the Shrek dialogue, better out than in. I was like, yes, that's what we need to do. All of us need to do that. Yeah, you can leave it there. Yeah, we'll pick it up. Thank you. So with that, I'd like to invite Justice Helen to the stage. We're going to have our next keynote speaker this afternoon. She is a trailblazing jurist and a powerful voice for justice, equity, and inclusion in Washington State. As the first Black woman to serve on the Washington Supreme Court and as one of the most distinguished legal minds in the state. Justice Whitener has dedicated her career to expanding access to justice, championing dignity for all. Her leadership reminds us that law is not just about the rules, but it's about people, fairness, and the kind of community we choose to build. Justice Helen, please, welcome.
Well, good afternoon. I'm really honored to be here. And as I was sitting listening listening to the prior panel, I realized I continue to write. I write, I collaborate on writing, and I actually write things that matter to your daily lives. And it's called writing opinions and decisions that have precedential value in the law. My session was titled Law, Poetry, and the Power of Story. And you're probably wondering, why is a Supreme Court justice standing here at a literacy, not a literacy, a literature session? Well, I write poetry as well. I always have since I was 12 years old. So today and this afternoon, I hope to share one of my poems with you. But I want to talk about the law, and I want to do it in a way that matters. So it is said that the United States Constitution envisions a society with rights, liberties, and opportunities that are protected equally for all. That means if it truly is for all, one of the most amazing things about the Constitution is that it belongs to you. It puts you in charge of decisions about our country. And it says that you can be involved in any way that you choose. But is that true? I really wish that we would be meeting this afternoon under different circumstances. Circumstances where we are judged on our character and not on labels that are used to separate us. Labels such as race, the color of our skin, our gender, who we love, where we are from, what job we have, what title we hold, or how much money we make. These labels can be harmful, as they're not only used to identify us, but they're used to define us. They are all tied to institutional and structural systems that disenfranchise an individual from opportunities. Race and inequality, gender and inequality, sexual orientation and inequality, immigration and inequality, disability and inequality, just to name a few. These labels are meant to preordain an individual's life to one of servitude, enslavement, oppression, exclusion, and powerlessness. In other words, it incorrectly marginalizes and ignores the multi-dimensional layers of a person's identity and eviscerates their value, their worth, their very being. I was born and raised on the small multicultural island nation of Trinidad and Tobago. I was raised to stand up, stand out, and stand fast. I was told by my parents and teachers that I am a descendant of kings and queens. So upon immigrating to the United States and encountering racism for the first time, the question I asked myself was, how do I rise? When from birth, this society keeps telling me that I don't matter. That because of the color of my skin, I am not worthy or not equal to others. How do I rise when the very essence of my being is continuously attacked? How do I fit in when I know I was born to stand out? Well, even though society had a different plan in store for me, I must admit, I missed the memo. The memo that said, you're black, stay back, you're a woman, lay back, you're a lesbian, step back, you're an immigrant, go back, you're a person with a disability, fade to black. Lately, there's a lot of discussions around systemic racism and systems of oppression. dissatisfaction and a lack of confidence in our legal institutions and the administration of justice have increased. The perception is that the justice system doesn't know that Black, Indigenous, people of color, BIPOCs, and those without financial means matter. And because of that, judges and those in the legal profession are part of the problem. What is striking is the role legal principles have played throughout America's history in determining the plight of many marginalized groups. The perception among marginalized communities is that the legal system doesn't care. The message received says, marginalized person, you need not apply. The result is a lack of public trust and confidence in the justice system. And the continuous message received is that marginalized persons are not to be seen or heard. They are to be invisible. But if not invisible, they are to be silenced. Silence allows others to define and control who you are and how you will be seen. Silence allows others to tell your story without your input. There is one thing that can never take place when you are silent or silenced, and that is change. Change comes with an acknowledgement of our individual and collective identity and experiences. The rules of engagement that are required mandate that we acknowledge each other's worth, because who we are is the color of our skin, is our gender, is where we were born, is who we love, amongst other things. So how do you interact or engage with someone like me? A Black, female, immigrant, lesbian, who identifies as a person with a disability. As a marginalized individual, I don't have the privilege of being silent on issues that affect me. So even though my perspective may not be privileged-based, it is still worthy of consideration. I already don't have much of a say, and now you want to take even that away. Marginalized identities overlap or intersect with a system and systems of oppression and discrimination that remind someone like me daily that I am not privileged. So, how do you interact or engage with someone like me? I am standing over here wondering if you can see me. You invited me in, and I am so excited to join you and to have a seat at the table. I'm just blown away by your generous act. But then when I stand to join you, you sit me close enough to be seen, but far enough away to not be heard. And when I try to speak, you silence me, making it clear that my voice is not to be understood. I didn't realize that everything about our interaction says, know your place. In your eyes, I am an abomination, an evil being. You were taught to literally see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. And we know that is not what these words were meant to mean. But you took these words literally, and it has impacted how you interact with me because you don't see me. And if you do, look at me, you see an abomination, an evil being, or someone to be feared. So, how do you interact with someone like me? There are many features that we share. But when you look at me, what exactly is it that you see? Because I see you, but do you see me? When I speak, what exactly is it that you hear? Because I hear you, but do you hear me? I really want to speak to you, but will you listen to what I have to say? I cannot just be a face at the table. I cannot just hold the space. I have a voice that strains to be heard. I have so much that I want to share, but I wonder if my narrative would be understood. So how do you interact with someone like me? Respectfully. Justice Thurgood Marshall, the first Black United States Supreme Court Justice, said, "The cardinal principle of the American Constitution is that all persons stand in a position of equality before the law." According to Justice Marshall, it gives each of us an equal right to our own positions, our own opinions, and to participate in the process of our own governance. He said, "We must remember that the government, the founders and framers devised was defective from the start, requiring several amendments, a civil war, and momentous social transformation to attain the system of constitutional government. And its respect for the individual freedoms and human rights behold as fundamental today." At the time, Justice Marshall observed that there are still far too many persons in this country who cannot participate as equals in the process of government. People who are too poor, too uninformed, persons discriminated against by other people for no good reason. The ideal of our Constitution was to eliminate these barriers to the aspirations of all Americans to participate fully in our government and society. Today, trust and confidence in the rule of law and the judiciary is at an all-time low. Relevant to what is occurring today, Justice Marshall said, "No government can govern long or well without the authority that comes from a shared consensus among the governed. They must believe that theirs is a rightful, lawful, and just government. But to preserve this power in the people, the power of defining and limiting the authority of their government, it is first and foremost essential that the people be well informed. Education towards the goal of an informed citizenry is hard work, but it is essential work for the citizens of a democracy. I believe it is our unceasing responsibility to use the knowledge and training we've acquired to improve the lives of others. Justice Thurgood Marshall said, "What matters is that we remember always the obligation we bear to society that has placed us in a position where we could afford to obtain an education." Justice Marshall felt the lack of inclusion of all people, to include women, from we the people, was intentional, and the original intent of the phrase was clear. It took a bloody civil war before the 13th Amendment could be adopted to abolish slavery, though not the consequences slavery would have for future Americans. While the Union survived the Civil War, the Constitution did not. In its place rose a new, more promising basis for justice and equality. It's the 14th Amendment, ensuring protection of life, liberty, and property for all persons against deprivation without due process of law, and guaranteeing equal protection of the laws. Yet, almost another century would pass before any significant recognition was obtained of the rights of Black Americans to share equally, even in such basic opportunities as education, housing, and employment, and to have their votes counted and counted equally. What is striking is the role legal principles have played throughout America's history in determining the conditions of many Americans. They were enslaved by law, emancipated by law, disenfranchised and segregated by law, and finally, they began to win equality by law. Along the way, new constitutional principles emerged to meet the challenges of a changing society. However, the lived experiences of marginalized individuals involve being on the receiving end of acts meant to silence voices and instill fear. A few years ago, I shared a poem I wrote titled Resilient. I believe it still has some relevance today, so I would like to share it with you. I am disenfranchised, feeling like I am constantly under attack. Who I am, my identity, how you see me, how you speak to me, how we interact defines me. I am a mouse in a lab, and the lab you control. The wheels is my life, and round I go. Maneuvering the trap is my daily plan. Cautious with our interaction, cautious with our interplay, cautious with your control. Culturally, socially, economically, politically, legally controlled. Your control is stifling. Your institutions, your organizations, your government has displaced me. External trauma inflicted daily on my body, my mind, my soul has hardened me. External trauma daily has hardened me. Your tolerance of my plight has created distrust within me. I struggle daily with this game called life. Violence is your expectation. But like Martin, I have a dream. Like Maya, I am motivated to rise. And like Malcolm, I'm a human being first and foremost. And as such, I'm forever and for whomever and whatever benefits humanity as a whole. I am resilient. So, dear attendees, for we, the people of the United States of America, to create the world we envision and become the inspiration we were born to be, each of us must recognize the power of our individual voice and the power of our collective presence. Thank you.
Thank you, Justice Helen. That was wonderful. Nothing shows the power of humanity. Nothing shows the power of words more so than history recounted and all those things where we went wrong, where we shouldn't have done those things. So that was really powerful to hear those words. Thank you once again for joining us today. Next up, we're going to go to a conversation, the story behind the story. So this is our version of BTS, if you will, behind the scenes. And for this, we are going to be inviting three speakers, Simone Gorindo, we have Tara Gajen, I probably butchered that last name, I apologize, and Jessica Payne. And